أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله.
Assalamu alaikum, sisters. Welcome to Sisters Seeking Salam. Just going to do the translation of the two du'as that Dr. Amina has kindly recited for us. Bismillah. All praise to Allah. We seek His aid and His assistance and ask His forgiveness, and we seek refuge in Allah from the evil of our souls and from the evil of our actions. Whomever Allah guides, none will be able to be misled by him. Whomever He leads astray, nobody can guide him. I testify that there is no deity worth of worship except Allah, alone without partner, and that Muhammad ﷺ is His slave and messenger. There's another dua that we often recite, and I'm definitely going to read this one, sisters. Well, translation at least. Okay, Bismillah. O my Lord, open my chest and ease my task for me. Remove the impediment from my speech so that they may understand what I say. Believe me, sisters, I really feel like I need that dua today. Okay, so Jazakumullah khairan everyone for joining us. It's been a while since I've hosted Sisters Seeking Salam, and I'm actually very honored to be hosting today on the last Jummah of Ramadan. And as we've said before, with the du'as, I pray that Allah opens our doors and opens our hearts and minds to getting what we need from this session, as everyone has from previous sessions, inshallah. So today's topic is, what if today is your last day? And you know, we're all busy with these last few days of Ramadan. We're making the most of our time, you know, some seeking Laylatul Qadr to preparing for Eid, you know, but what do we, you know, in these last moments, what do we really want? You know, imagine today is your last day. What is it that you really want? You know, what du'as would you be seeking? What is it that you'd want people to remember you by even? Okay. So I want you to take a moment and just think about the last 24 hours of your life and ask yourself these questions. What have you done? Starting, you know, just as an example, starting from yesterday morning, and play the day in your mind. What have you done? You know, when we look at that, when we ask ourselves that questions, for most of us, it's the same thing. It's a routine. You know, for me, it's woke up, obviously at the moment we're in Ramadan, so did suhoor, prayed, then I actually go back to sleep. But then when I woke up again, got my son ready for school, sent him to school, got ready, went to work, come home, prepared for iftar, did what I could, prayed, ibadah, you know, even then homework and all the other things that we've got to do. But if you look at your last 24 hours, is there anything that stands out for you? You know, look at it and think, what challenges did you have? Were you able to get over those challenges? Are they still with you? Are you still facing those challenges? Is there anything that you did yesterday or even today that has pleased you? Anything that you're proud of? Did your day go as it was planned or as you planned it? you know, hopefully you've kind of got a picture in your mind of what your last 24 hours have been like. And I'm going to ask you to bear with me because I'm going to come back to this. And what I'd like to do is another bit of an exercise. And I'd like you to think about the people that you've talked to over the last couple of days, the different people you've interacted with. When you've spoken to this person, whether it's been online or in person, on the phone, when you left them, how did you leave it? Was it a happy, joyous moment of like, see you next time and looking forward to seeing you next time? Or was it one of those strange moments where you're kind of like, oh my gosh, I'm glad that's over. I don't want to have to go see that person again. I don't want to meet them again. I don't want to talk to them again. How was that moment of when you ended your meeting with them? And it brings me back to the question, if today was your last day, how would you like that person to remember you? And you know, the likelihood is that you would want to be remembered in a good way. You know, like someone saying, you know, often when we go to, often when we go to funerals, or we've heard of someone passing away, we would talk about the person's character. And it will be, you know, a lot of people say, she was really nice, she was caring, she was kind, she was thoughtful, she's always there for us, she couldn't do enough for us. And there's many, many good things people will say. But there is always someone who will not have a good word to say. Someone who, you know, just didn't get on with that person. And that's where, you know, I kind of think, well, what can we do about that? You know, in your best intentions, you want to be known as being someone who's good. So what can you do about the way other people perceive you? And the truth is there, sisters, if you are being you're being honest, you're being humble, you're being yourself, there isn't anything you can do if someone chooses not to like you. That's their choice. But what you can do is seek Allah and turn to Allah and ask Allah for forgiveness, because Allah is all forgiving. Inshallah, going through this session, you may get some more clarity on the things that you can do. But now I'd like you to think about that person. You know, think about a person that you don't like interacting with, a person you would rather avoid, or you know, like when you've got to meet them and you're already thinking up, oh my gosh, they're going to say this, they're going to say that, they're going to pick on me, they're going to do this, you know, nothing I do is good enough for them. That sort of person. And think about, you know, that person, how they will remember you. How do you think they're going to remember you? Again, the likelihood is that you're going to think they're not going to remember you in a nice way. And the thing is, we can do only so much to please people. But when we change the way that we see things, you know, it's much easier to let things slide. and I didn't plan to say this, but it's just something I remembered my mother-in-law saying, and that is, imagine you're like a leaf. So a leaf has a waxy top, a waxy texture to it. And she said, when it rains, imagine the water, the droplets of water, how it drops onto the leaf and it bounces off and rolls away. Imagine that what that person says to you is like that drop of water. You are the leaf and it bounces on you and it falls away. Alhamdulillah, my mother-in-law said that to me when I first got married, quite a while ago now. But with that in mind, I see, as a coach, I see that so much more clearly now, and I really understand what she meant. And with that, I've been able to, allow things, let loads of things slide. But hopefully, inshallah, today I'm going to share two hadiths, and hopefully they will help you too. Okay. Bear with me one moment. I seem to have lost my hadith. Okay. So this is a Sahih al-Bukhari 64:16, if you want the reference, book 81, hadith 5. And it was narrated by Mujahid. Abdullah bin Umar said, Allah's Messenger وسلم, took hold of my shoulder and said, be in this world as if you were a stranger or a traveler. The sub-narrator added, Ibn Umar used to say, if you survive till the evening, do not expect to be alive in the morning. And if you survive till the morning, do not expect to be alive in the evening. And take from your health for your sickness, and take from your life for your death. I find this a interesting hadith because a lot of the time we don't think how long we've got on this earth. We don't even, we don't think about whether we'll be here tonight, whether we'll wake up tomorrow morning. And when I read this hadith, I think, if now is my last moment, what would I change? What would be my regrets? And then there's another hadith that I'd like to share, and this one is based on kinship. And again, this one's reference is Riyadh as-Salihin 322, and the in-book reference is Introduction to Hadith 322. And it says, Abdullah bin Amr al-As, may Allah be pleased with them, reported, the Prophet ﷺ said, the person who perfectly maintains the ties of kinship is not the one who does it because he gets recompense by his relatives. And then it's got in brackets, for being kind and good to them. But the one who truly maintains the bonds of kinship is the one who persists in doing so, even though the latter has severed the ties of kinship with him. And I said, this is al-Bukhari. Again, another hadith which talks about kinship and how important it is. Thank you, Dr. Amina, for putting it up. It's, sorry, I'll start again, sorry. There are many hadiths and verses in the Quran that teach us about the importance of keeping our relationship with our families. And there are loads, believe me, and I haven't gone through all of them. And today I've just decided to stick with this one. But what strikes me is how in this day and time, it is so easy for us to say, I don't want anything to do with that person. So with these two hadiths in mind, I'd like you just to think for a moment and remember that if you had 24 hours to live, what would you do? What would you change? Would you seek out that person, the person that you don't get on with? Would you seek them out and seek forgiveness? Would you try to reconcile with them? And normally I would ask you before I'd read the hadith, why would you be doing this? And from when I've spoken to sisters before, a lot of the time it's because they will say, because I just want to have a clear conscience. I don't want them to be, to hold things against me. And from this hadith, we are told, we are even rewarded for seeking to keep our kinships, to keep our relationships. It's a big part of our deen to keep our relationships, and it holds a very big importance. Now, as I said, a lot of sisters would say, I don't want to be held to account on the day of judgment for things that I've done to people, knowingly and unknowingly. So one of the I remember as a child even that when people were going for Umrah or for Hajj, they would come and see us or we would go and see them. And the one thing that I used to hear a lot was where people would say, if I've done anything to hurt you, knowingly or unknowingly, please forgive me. As a child, I thought it was just a standard thing you say. I didn't understand the importance of it. As an adult who's done my own research, who's doing my own studying, I really get that now. I really understand how important it is to seek forgiveness. Even if you've met a relative after a long time, as you're leaving, to say salam, and if I've said something that you didn't agree with, please forgive me. Something I've said that's hurt you, please forgive me. It seems, sometimes it can seem kind of like, well, why should I say that? I didn't say anything wrong. But you don't know how someone's taken what you said. You don't know how they've interpreted your your intentions. It may be that you may have had the best of intentions, but the way the person's interpreted it will depend on the way that they are seeing it. So as we say in our coaching groups, the lens that that person is seeing through will depend how they've interpreted what you've said. And I'm sure all of us have been in a situation where we've said something very innocently with no harm intended, and it's been taken in the opposite way. It's been taken in such a way that it's caused a rift, it's caused issues within the relationship. And this takes me on to a story I think I might have made up in my mind from one of my tafsir class. So please forgive me. And if anyone knows if it's an actual hadith, please correct me. But I had a tafsir class, and it's when we were going through the verses of the Quran, my ustada told us, she told us about the Day of Judgment. And this is what stuck with me. So on the day of judgment, a man comes with his scales on his back, and his back will be bent over with the good deeds that he has. He'll be bending over, and the good deeds are weighed for him, and he's got them, and they're over exceeding. He's so heavy with good deeds. And on this day, Allah has told us that we will all have our rights. We will all seek our rights from each other. And so for this man, at some point, the people who he's interacted with throughout his life, they come to him and they will seek their rights from him. And when we talk about seeking their rights, it could be something as simple as, talking to your child and just, your child's talking to you and you abruptly just say, okay, just a minute. And for that moment, that little hurt that your child has felt, they may come on the day of judgment and take that right from you. Only Allah knows. And that's why one of the things I do say to everyone is consistently seek forgiveness, sisters, for what you know you've done and what you don't even realize you've done. Other rights may be things like, saying to someone, oh, I promise I will come and see you later, but then never actually going to see them. Not because you didn't intend to, but maybe, you forgot. So for this man, on the day of judgment, he's got people who are coming and they're taking their rights from him. And the rights that they take is in the form of his good deeds. So they take his good deeds. And then it gets to a point where all his good deeds have gone. And at this point, you'd think, well, if it was in a shop and the product's gone, people turn away and go. But on this day, my sisters, that is not how it's going to be. On this day, this man's, all his good deeds have gone. But for those who are still seeking their right from this man, their misdeeds are transferred to him. For the value of what their rights are, it's transferred to him. Now, when I think of that, I just have this, this thought, and a dua that I make consistently. Allah, please do not let me be of the person who has no good deeds left. Please allow my scales to be burdened with goodness. Just imagine that for this man who has now got no good deeds, and for all those people around him who are lightening their misdeeds because they're obviously it's being transferred to him, I would not want to be in that position. And I don't know about you. Well, actually, I'm sure many of us wouldn't want to be in that position. As I said, I don't think it's a hadith. I think it was just how I interpreted the verse in the surah that we were going through, and I've built this in my mind. But that really, for me, that's something I use every day. And for anyone who's been coached by me, they will know, or even spoken to me, you'll know it's one of the things I say. Imagine on the day of judgment, you're in front of Allah. How are you going to, answer for the things that you've said and done? You see, when we talk about the ties of kinship, when we talk about our friends and our family, when you're talking about your loved ones, you're really happy and you're talking with love, and you can feel it and you can hear it. But when you think about the people who you don't want to interact with, Oh, sorry, ladies. Sorry, I've just completely lost my trail of thought because I had a call coming in, so please forgive me. Sorry, I thought I saw a message, and I think I caught it just as it went past. You know, the sister's saying that she feels immense guilt for shouting at her toddler. And what I would say to you, sister, is, you know, we are parents and we are guides for our children. There are times we are going to shout. You know, there are times we do things because we are overwhelmed. We're busy in what we're doing. You know, everyone's guilty of it. And I'd say to you, you are human, my sister. Um, don't feel guilty about it. Just move forward and think, next time I'm going to try and just be a bit calmer. I'm going to try and not shout. Um, and as I say that to you, what comes to mind is the story of, you know, we've all heard people say, you know, if the toddler's going to touch the fire, as an adult, the reaction is to pull your child away, and you know, at that point, you are going to shout, and that, you know, is justified. Um, and actually, this is how a lot of us have learned. A lot of us have been brought up, you know, by being told off. And interestingly, I had a conversation with my daughter, and I was talking, and I said, I took my parenting habits, or a lot of the parenting style that I use, I took a lot of it from my parents, from how my mother was, how my father is. Um, I, but I also looked at other people around me, um, and other examples, you know, from watching TV, from books, and how I thought a parent should be. So whilst I learned a lot from my parents, there is a lot of things that I've done differently. And having a conversation with my daughter, I know there is a lot of things that she will do differently. Um, one of the things that she was talking about is something called gentle parenting, where from very young, the parent teaches the child to do, you know, chores, not, well, not even chores, but to do everyday life things. Um, And for any of you who are on TikTok, you may have seen there's a lady who has two young toddlers, and she has like a mini kitchen for them. And it's a working kitchen, mini fridge, and a mini hob, and they cook their food. And I believe they may be about 3, 4 years old, these children. And she's teaching them. And when I saw that, first of all, I thought, oh, wow. And then afterwards, when my daughter was explaining gentle parenting, I thought, look at that, mashallah, she's teaching her children the things that we wait till our children are older to teach. And at the same time, you know, teaching them the different manners that they need to have, the etiquettes that come with doing certain things. And I'm really sorry, sisters, because I've completely digressed. Sorry. Um, coming back to the hadiths, um, as I said, through coaching, we meet lots of sisters who struggle with their relationships and with various family members, with neighbors, with friends, with colleagues, um, and even acquaintances. Okay, did I? Oh, sorry. Can you hear me now, sisters? Okay. Um, yeah, sorry. So we're with the interactions that we have with various people in our lives. And often, you know, we just think we often just think, oh, there's nothing we can do about it. You know, for a lot of sisters, especially now coming up to Eid, there's a lot of tension, a lot of anxiety, a lot of nervousness because they're going to end up going to someone's house or someone's coming to their house, and there's a kind of like we don't get on with each other vibe going on, whether it be with the mother-in-law, the sister-in-law, with you know nieces, nephews, just friends. um there is a lot of sisters will be worried about it. And what I'd really like you to do, sisters, is to take today's session to think of these two hadiths and my little story, and imagine yourself to be the leaf. Imagine the words that are being thrown at you. um imagine the words that are being thrown at you. Just let them roll away. As a coach, and throughout the other sessions that we've had this month, I'm sure the other sisters have talked about um, the way you understand things, the way you see things. And what I'd really say to you, sisters, when you go into these situations, make dua first of all. Always, first of all, we turn to Allah. Make dua that you know the day will go well, and don't just make it with the thought of I'm making dua, Allah, let it go well. No, make dua from the bottom of your heart. Make dua with a sincerity that Allah, I want today to go well. I want my family to have a wonderful day. I want to have a wonderful day. And when I leave this home, I want to be I want to have enjoyed my day, and I want to leave all the nastiness that can come out of meeting someone who you don't get along with, and leave it there. Just leave it at the door. Now, um, one thing I find is people get into habits. People get into habits of, this is the way I will talk to someone because this is the way they understand. That's a thing. That's actually a thought that they have. And what I find is when you switch your way of speaking to someone around. So when someone's coming at you, for example, if someone came to you and said, you're wearing your nice Eid clothes, and they say, oh yeah, I saw that in the shop and it was on sale. You must have got it real cheap. Whether or not you did, that's irrelevant. The fact is, you liked what you liked and you bought it. In that moment, it's so easy to think, oh, here we go again. Another thing they're going to pick on me for. Or, someone coming to you and making a comment about something you've cooked. In those moments, sisters, just take it back and think about the day of judgment. Think about if your last moment is today, if your last moment is the day of Eid and you're with your family, is this the last thing that you want to have, on your mind, that so and so didn't like my food? Or would it be easier for you to think, I'm happy, you know, all good, it's fine. They didn't like it, that's really their choice. Um, and then, there's something for those of you who may have a person in your life that reconciling with them is not really an option. It may not be safe to reconcile with them. You can still seek protection for yourself. Um, or even if the person who you would really want to reconcile with is no longer with us, there's still a way you can seek forgiveness. and that is by turning to Allah. Allah is almighty and all forgiving, and Allah knows what's in your heart and what's in your mind. And more than anything, more than a person, Allah's the one that will forgive you. So even then, my sisters, we don't have, we don't lose hope. If someone's no longer with us, or someone is, it's not safe for us to be around, we can still seek forgiveness from Allah, by seeking it from Allah. Often, here in the UK, there is a phrase that I grew up hearing a lot, and it's here today, gone tomorrow. Don't know how many of you have heard this phrase, and it's often said in a joking, flippant way. It's like, yeah, here today, gone tomorrow. But when I was writing what I wanted to say to you today, and I was researching, it really hit me that a saying that is often said, actually, there is much more to it than that. Really and truly looking at it, here today, gone tomorrow. This hadith that I've shared today has it's basically saying, you're here today, you're not sure if you're going to be here tomorrow, you're not sure if you're going to be here to the end of this session, let alone tomorrow. So if you can, reconcile with your loved ones, reconcile with your friends, because it may not even be you that's not here tomorrow. It may be one of your loved ones, it may be one of your friends. So I'd encourage you all, sisters, to take time, to take a moment today and to think about those relationships that you'd like, you could seek to rekindle, those relationships that you could maybe progressively seek forgiveness from, the people that you could seek forgiveness from. And I'd also say to you, one of the other points of my topic is how you would like to be remembered. When you leave this earth, you will only take your deeds with you. And often in the whole month of Ramadan, we give in charity. And in the last 10 nights, we're often reminded about the importance of seeking forgiveness, the importance of giving to charity. And we are 2-3 days, 2-3 nights away from Eid, away from the end of Ramadan. And I would encourage you all to really think about the changes you want to make, and to really make dua for those changes. Throughout Ramadan, I'm sure you've made small changes in your life. From I know some people who, for them, it's things like the way they dress, the way they speak, the language that they use, being more mindful of how they interact with people. For others, it's staying away from their devices, staying away from being online. And for most of us, it's trying to read Quran more. But whatever you choose, take a moment to reflect upon how you want to be remembered, and how, if today is your last day, would you like to leave with no regrets? Would you like to know that you've done all you can to seek forgiveness, to maintain your family ties, to even for your children, even for your parents, you've kept those ties going. as I've just mentioned that, sisters, I just had a thought of someone I spoke to the other day who told me how they had to look after their disabled mother who was bedridden, and how it got to a point where they were 24/7 with this person, and they felt really guilty because they had times where they were shouting at them. They had times where they raised their hands to them. And the reason I'm sharing this, sisters, is because we don't know what situation we will find ourselves in. And for this sister who was sharing her story, she felt an incredible amount of guilt. She felt, that she hadn't done what she hadn't been a dutiful daughter because she had done things that she considered not to be good, as a lot of people would. Talking to this sister, it is, alhamdulillah, she's in a much better position now. And as I said, we can turn to Allah, we can seek forgiveness, we can ask for forgiveness, we can give to charity, sisters, we can give to charity for our families, for those who have deceased. When we say give to charity, especially at the moment, it's a lot of people are asking for financial means, financial, do a transaction, give towards this, give towards that. But charity comes in many forms, and something as simple as helping someone cross the road, as smiling at someone, is a form of charity. And because I'm now going off topic, I'm going to end the session, sisters. I pray that Allah has given you what you need from this session, and any mistakes are mine. So just Dr. Amina, would you like to read the ending dua?
جزاك الله خير. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Okay, before you end, Dr. Amina, I'll just read the translation. So, Bismillah. Glory is to you, O Allah, and praise is to you. I bear witness that there is none worthy of worship but you. I seek forgiveness and repent to you. Okay. Jazakumullah khair, sisters, for joining me today. I pray, like I said, you've got what you needed from today's session. Okay. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.